Welcome to the first ever actually, Meet the Designers panel discussion. That deserves a round of applause. So first off, I'm going to start by welcoming our panelists. I'm very honoured and proud for you to be here with us, so thank you very much.
My name is Selassie Tetevie, and my company is Ramdesign. My studio is in Accra, and I used to have a gallery, but I no longer have it. I have been supplying people rather than displaying stuff myself.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Latifah Idriss, and I represent a design studio called Meraki. I'm an architect, designer, and artist, among other things.
Okay, excellent.
Hi everyone, my name is Tosin Oshinowo. I represent Ila, which means House of Lines in Yoruba. I'm a product designer. I'm also an architect.
Excellent. Welcome to Accra.
Hi, my name is Lani Adeoye. I represent Studio Lani. I'm from Nigeria, and I basically create sculptural lighting fixtures and some furniture pieces, tables, and so forth.
Excellent. Well, welcome again. Thank you. The reason for this discussion is I think it's really important to connect the personal stories of design with the designers and the people that consume design or use design, so to speak. So I think this is a beautiful way to do it. The idea is that we're going to have a conversation, share ideas, share thoughts, share challenges. So let me start with Lani. Lani, are you a designer or are you specifically an African designer?
Definitely in terms of identity, I'm an African woman. That's the foundation of my identity, right? I think what it is also with the question, how you define yourself. I think sometimes people separate it from identity because of sort of the context of how things are said. And I think in terms of this sort of very monolithic idea that people already have of Africa as one thing, it's a bit, because I always kind of describe myself as an African designer, but people already have this sort of monolithic idea of what, like, Africa should be producing, quote unquote, one style, one thing. So I wonder, are we helping the narrative?
It's sort of like looking at around your context and seeing what are the issues, how can we advance something, how can we add on to something. So this is what I mean, that when you design, it's about being true to your context. Around you, what are the problems that are manifesting? So in that way, your design is based on your truth. It's a response to things rather than saying you're designing to meet an aesthetic or something. And usually when someone would say, oh, are you an African designer or something, it's not about context or anything. You realize that it becomes about aesthetic, or your things don't look. So that is sort of what defining yourself that way, it puts you in that box where you're saying, okay, this is my work and this is sort of the aesthetic that I'm going towards.
If we are talking about design, we're talking about all the different disciplines, from designing a kitchen knife, a cutlass for a farmer, which is more economical than, or a hoe, which is more economic than what they've been using for ages. I mean, you look at the shaft of a hoe, it's only about 2 feet long. So you're bending down all the time. Other countries, they have a longer handle. So you don't bend down, so you're more productive. Our designers should start looking at areas like that as well. Every area in society needs the application of design.
I don't think that we've ever lost our ability to solve problems, but when you think about the reality of, do I solve the problem or do I eat? You have to prioritize. But I wanted to raise something in relation to what Lani said and the conversation we're having about producing products. I think apart from government, I think we're all involved. The consumer at the end is also very important. I was having a conversation earlier and we were talking about how the African client will happily buy from Italy and import at 3 times the price, pay duties and get the goods here. And their argument is always that, oh, the quality is better. It's going to last longer than if they get something locally done.
The core of craft is that there's an intrinsic material understanding. Like if you go to someone who's a craftsman for like wooden objects, you realize that he comprehends he's very intimate with the material. He knows what works. So usually for us, it's always a collaboration between ourselves and then the craftsmen we work with, because we could design something and going as designers, yeah, this is what we want, this is how we want the lines cut, and then they'll be like, no, for this wood, you can't do this, you can't do that, for this. So that there has to be that process and that give and take where you're like, oh, this is what you're doing. Do you know you could do it this way with these tools? And they're also saying, you could do this. So I think it's best when you combine, let's say, both of those, where there's also an emphasis on craft.
I think that obviously the government definitely would play a huge role in government, private investors, whatever, to invest in that, because we can't do it alone. You know, it's already hard enough being a designer trying to come up with something.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times, you know, I always wonder, you see in the Western world, a lot of, you know, designers being sent to different places in Africa, and there's some agency or somebody backing them to find a new way to do something different that this community has been doing. And so there are people definitely that have been investing, but it'd be great to see people here investing. So they need to believe in it, first of all, and see the potential for growth, see how things can be scaled up.
I'm going to now open this up to the audience as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Okpeyemi. What effort are the local manufacturers here making to at least to be able to compete and be able to sell to the international market?
We don't have manufacturers in the basket sector. They are usually cooperatives. You see, baskets are made after the women come back from the farms. It's not something that they do as an industry.
Okay.
You see? So this is the problem for us in this part of the world. Because if they were working only on baskets, being paid hourly or monthly on baskets is a different thing. But they're doing this thing almost as a society, a social enterprise.
Okay.
So part of the funny stories which Bridget used to tell us was that when the baskets were brought to the buyers, they would have different measurements. And these were baskets which were photographed to go in a catalog. So of course, people expected if it's 30 centimeters,
that there should be a standard.
It should be standard. And then the women said, well, you don't have kids the same. Your kids come out different in sizes. So this and you're right. What we should have done, we should have marketed those baskets as handicraft, handmade, individuals, and they should have had a very high price. You see what we should have done? And then some of the designers here should have done newer versions with embellishments and things like that. That's where the design would come in from the classic shape. But you need to have some people who are going to say that this is what we are going to do with this industry or this sector. You see, which I don't see happening here. Look, we have all these associations, timber producers, furniture makers association, all artisans, there's artisans that they are not working.
Anyone want to follow on from that?
Hi, my name is Heather Baja. To your conversation about the baskets, I have another side to it because I am a designer as well, and I belong to an organization. We try to export stuff. And the buyers, if you remember, Lani Nylander had an organization that he tried to use to bring buyers in. And part of the problem was that our own artisans that we work with, they go meet the buyers, and they are half-baked, and then they go and give them some ridiculous price that is not sustainable just because they want a sale done. And this is true. I've forgotten the guy's name, it's some years ago. And so they got goods that were half-baked, and then it couldn't be redone the second time. And so they also left to East Africa. So I'm just trying to say that the problem is multidimensional. Sometimes people don't think of the bigger picture, you know, and they think that their boss or whatever it is getting all the money, you know. So it's very difficult, and we need ways of training the people that work with designers so they understand that in the long run, if we all work together, there's a bigger pot to eat from, to chop from, as we say in Africa, you know. But this is part of the problem I've seen. Thank you.
Okay, on that note then, I'm going to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for you all being here. It means a lot, and I think everything that we've said about the challenges, it's through, and I think Augustus, was it you that said about the importance of communicating, or somebody did, but it's these conversations that will slowly move us forward. I think it feels like we have a massive mountain to climb, but it starts with just putting one step in front of the other. So for all of my designers who, I must say, when I randomly got in touch with people 2 years ago and say, hi, I've got this idea, do you want to be a part of it? The faith that they've shown in Africa by Design, the commitment to the cause, despite the challenges, despite the limitations, the fact that you're all so heavily invested means so much to me. I consider you all family, so thank you so much, especially for Tosin and Lani to fly in from Lagos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're here for the evening. Let's enjoy and appreciate what you see around us. Thank you.